Jacob's family. Third reading 18. Jacob loved Rachel, and he said to Laban, I will work for you for 7 years, the maximum amount of time my mother stipulated that I can stay here. 22. For Rachel. Now, do not try to deceive me by giving me some other girl named Rachel, I mean your daughter. Furthermore, do not try to deceive me by changing your daughter Leah's name to Rachel, I mean your younger daughter. Nevertheless, despite having taken these precautions against deception, Jacob knew that Laban would still try to deceive him, so he gave Rachel secret signs by which he would be able to distinguish her from her twin sister even in the dark. 19. Laban replied, Better that I give her to you than give her to another man. Stay with me. 20. So Jacob worked 7 years for Laban in order to marry Rachel, but in his eyes they seemed a mere few days because of his love for her. 21. At the end of these 7 years, Jacob said to Laban, Give me my intended wife, for, first of all, the maximum time my mother allowed me to remain here is up, and furthermore, my time to have children might soon be up, since I am already 84 years old, and let me cohabit with her. Jacob demanded his wife because his intention was entirely innocent, to father children. 23. 22. So Laban gathered together all the local people and made a wedding feast. 23. When it was evening, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob. Rachel, realizing that her sister Leah was about to be placed in an embarrassing situation, disclosed to her the secret signs Jacob had given her. Thus, Jacob thought that Leah was Rachel and consummated the marriage with her. 24. Laban gave his visibly younger handmaid, daughter Zilpah, to his older daughter Leah, to be her handmaid. He gave the younger handmaid to Leah in order to reinforce his deception of Jacob, since Jacob would naturally think that Laban would give the older handmaid to the older daughter and the younger to the younger. 24. 25. When morning came, behold, Jacob discerned that it was Leah he had married, so he said to Laban, What have you done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I worked for you? Why did you deceive me? 26. Laban replied, I am not denying you Rachel. It is just that in our region, established practice forbids giving a younger daughter in marriage before the older. It is therefore something that is simply not done here. Therefore, in order to give you Rachel, I had to give you Leah first. 27. Complete the bridal celebration week of this one, Leah, and then we will give you that one, Rachel, 2, on the following day, in return for the work that you will do for me for another 7 years. 28. Jacob, like his father and grandfather before him, had voluntarily undertaken to observe all the Torah's commandments. Even though the Torah explicitly prohibits one man from marrying 2 sisters. 25. Jacob nonetheless assented to Laban's proposal for 2 reasons. A voluntary observance of the Torah cannot override one's obligation to keep a promise, and Jacob had promised Rachel that he would marry her, and she certainly would not have consented to release him from his promise, for that would have meant that she would probably have had to marry Esau. 26. B. The Torah explicitly states that 2 sisters are prohibited to marry the same man because this will cause jealousy between them, but in this case, Rachel voluntarily disclosed her secret signs to Leah, demonstrating that she harbored no jealousy towards her for marrying Jacob. 27. Jacob therefore acquiesced to Laban's proposal and completed the bridal celebration week of the one, and then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. 29 Laban gave his older handmaid daughter Bilhah to his younger daughter Rachel, to be her handmaid. 30 Jacob thus also married Rachel, and although he loved Leah, he loved Rachel even more than he loved Leah. He then worked for Laban for another 7 years. He worked for Laban as faithfully during the second set of 7 years as he had done during the first set of 7 years, despite the fact that Laban had deceived him. 31 God saw that Jacob loved Rachel so much that Leah felt hated by her husband in comparison. God therefore compensated Leah, who, like her identical twin Rachel, was barren by nature, and miraculously 28 opened her womb, i.e., blessed her with the ability to reproduce, while Rachel remained barren. 32 Leah conceived and gave birth to a son. Leah knew that Abraham's and Isaac's firstborn sons, Ishmael and Esau, had turned out wicked. She was therefore understandably apprehensive that this might prove to be a family pattern and that Jacob's firstborn son might also turn out wicked. But she foresaw prophetically 29 that not only would her newborn son be righteous, he would even be of extraordinarily righteous behavior. She therefore named him Reuben, saying, "See, you, the difference between being my firstborn and my father-in-law Isaac's firstborn, Esau." Esau did not value the fact that he was the firstborn. He willingly sold his birthright to Jacob. Reuben, however, will value his birthright. Nonetheless, he will not complain when he will prophetically see that God will at one point transfer his birthright to his younger brother, Joseph 30, even though he will not receive any compensation. In fact, he will even try to save Joseph when his life is threatened. 31. Therefore, she said, God has seen. Ra'ah, my humiliation, for now, in the merit of my son's exceptional qualities, my husband will love me as much as he loves my sister. 32 A twin sister was born along with Reuben. 33. 33 She again conceived and gave birth to a son, because, she said, God heard, Shammah, that I felt hated, so he gave me this one as well, and she named him Simeon, Shimon. 2 sisters were born along with Simeon. 34. 34 Again, she conceived and gave birth to a son, and she said, This time my husband will become attached, Yelave, to me, for I have borne him 3 sons and thereby fulfilled my procreative obligations to him. Leah foresaw that Jacob would marry 4 women and eventually father 12 sons, so when she bore her 3rd son, she assumed that she had fulfilled her equal share of this destiny. This 3rd son was destined to be the progenitor of the priestly class of the Jewish people, so when he was born, God sent the angel Gabriel to bring him before him, and he conferred upon him all the rights of the priesthood. God therefore named him Levi, both because he was accompanied, another meaning of Yelave, by gifts when Gabriel returned him, and because of Leah's pronouncement that Jacob would now become attached to her. A twin sister was born along with Levi. 35. 35 She again conceived and gave birth to a son and a twin daughter. 36 She said, This time I will thank Ode, God, for he has allowed me to give birth to more than my natural share of the total number of my husband's sons, and she therefore named him Judah. She then ceased bearing children. 30:1 Rachel saw that she had not borne any children to Jacob. Rachel was therefore jealous of her sister's good deeds. Since the 2 sisters were otherwise identical in all aspects, Rachel concluded that it was in the merit of Leah's good deeds that she was blessed with children. 37 She said to Jacob, "Is this how your father behaved when your mother was barren? Didn't he pray for her to conceive? Give me children, for if not, I will have no perpetuity, and it will be as if I am dead." 2 Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, "How can you compare me to my father?" He felt justified in praying to God because he was childless. "I, however, have children. He has denied you children, not me. Can I take the place of God, who has denied you the fruit of your womb?" 3 So she said, "Learn, then, from your grandfather Abraham's example." Although he had children with Hagar, he nevertheless still prayed to have children with Sarah. Jacob replied, "Yes, but he did so only after Sarah demonstrated to God that she was so desperate for children that she was willing to let Abraham marry her handmaid in the hopes that, in this merit, would she also conceive." Rachel responded, "If that is the only obstacle, then here is my bondwoman Bilhah. Cohabit with her, and let her bear you a child, and I will raise her children on my own lap, i.e., as if they were my own, and thus, through the merit of sharing you with her, I, too, will bear children of my own and thereby be built up into a matriarch whose essence will be perpetuated, just like Sarah." 38. For she gave him her handmaid Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob cohabited with her. 5 Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son and a twin daughter. 39. 6 Rachel then said, "God has judged me, Idanani, and found me unworthy, therefore he made me barren. Now he has judged me again, this time favorably, and has also heard my prayer, and therefore he has given me a son." She therefore named him Dan. 7 Rachel's handmaid Bilhah once again conceived and bore Jacob a second son and twin daughter. 40. 8 Rachel said, "I have persistently pleaded, Naphtali, with God to be on par with my sister, and I have prevailed," so she named him Naphtali. 9 When Leah realized that she had ceased bearing children, and saw that Rachel had given her handmaid to Jacob as a wife, she also took her handmaid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Although Bilhah and Zilpah were sisters, they did not have the legal status of sisters, since, as the daughters of Laban's concubine 41, they were considered his property, devoid of any familial status. Jacob therefore did not violate the Torah's prohibition of marrying two sisters by marrying them. 42. 10 Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, sister, bore Jacob a son and a twin daughter. 43 Zilpah was the youngest of Jacob's 4 wives. Since she had not yet begun menstruating, she did not experience any interrupted menses as a sign of pregnancy. Thus, there was no indication, neither to herself nor to others, that she had conceived until her abdomen began to swell in the final months of her pregnancy. 44. 11 When Zilpah gave birth, Leah said, "Good fortune, Gad, has come," so she named the newborn Gad. Still, she said to Jacob, "You betrayed me, Ibagad, when you agreed to be intimate with my handmaid, for since I already had borne you children, you did not have to consent to my offer." Although Leah herself had given her handmaid to Jacob, she felt that he should have refused. Additionally, formal permission does not necessarily imply sincere acquiescence. 45. Gad was born circumcised. 12 Leah's handmaid Zilpah once again conceived, and, as during her first pregnancy, did not experience any physiological indication of pregnancy until her abdomen began to swell. When she bore a second son and twin daughter 46 to Jacob, Leah said, 13 Now that I have borne yet another son through my handmaid, I will be praised, for young women will praise Ishru me on this account. So she named him Asher.